All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of KCBC. As per usual, this is taking place the morning of release because we're just having organic conversations now. We're just getting it done and we're not editing much, if any at all. And I am really stoked to have our guest today, Charles Clubb. Welcome to the show, man. Um,
Thanks, man.
One of the reasons I just got to tell you and kind of give you your flowers to start off before we get into the conversation. But the when I started this podcast and I started interviewing folks like Sid, um, the guys from Hardware, John from Yep, like my audience grew because fitness folks are the most supportive folks you will ever meet in your life. And you and Paige are part of that as well, like, very early listeners and followers of KCBC. And since that time, I mean, you and I have kind of kept in touch. And I haven't had a fitness professional on the show in like probably about 30 episodes, man. So, like, you're the first
Okay.
one. And since I had so many in the first few seasons, I've been very selective about who I bring on the show. And I love what you guys are doing at Lyft, man. I love how you have recently gotten back into martial arts. I know we're going to talk about that, but you were in martial arts and MMA back in the day, so obviously there's a connection there too, man.
Yeah.
But dude, I'm just so excited to have you because I see you as one of those different, divergent leaders in our region. With all that you've done with Live Kansas City, the community chat that you have, the way that you guys have allowed people to put their own songs on the sound system. And I heard
Yeah.
you and
Yeah.
Paige talk about the challenges with that on Protein Bros, the guys from S2.
Yeah.
But dude, so excited to just kind of get you isolated on the show right now so I can hear more of your story and our listeners can as well. So, man,
Well, thanks for having
welcome.
me, man. I really appreciate it. I'm excited too. I know, like you said, we've been in contact for a while, and I've been following your stuff. And you mentioned, the hardware guys and what Chase and John have really built. And they're going on this countrywide tour. It's been pretty fun to watch. And it was a great help when we were opening. He got us in touch with the mirror guy that we used to get all the mirrors, and he actually gave us two dumbbell racks. So he was extremely supportive, and along with Caleb with Body Shop, all those
Yeah,
guys
how
were
could I forget
huge.
Caleb? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So they were a huge help, and like you said, the fitness community is really strong in Kansas City, and that is a huge part of that is to S2 and what those guys have done, and they make a great effort at continuing to build those relationships with their stores in each region to get out to the gyms, to hold these events, and introduce a lot of people. So that community is strong, because of that, and because of the gym owners who take part in that and really buy into that message, into their core values. So yeah, man, we work really closely with other gym owners. We work really closely with S2, and that's how you build a strong community. You got to kind of set your ego aside and be able to reach across the table and work together.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. I love the gym community here. It's I'm sure it exists in other parts of the country, but I think you're probably aware I'm from California originally. I just celebrated my 11th year here in Kansas City. So, I definitely am well aware of our strengths and our weaknesses, opportunities, things like that. And I've never seen anything like it here, dude. Like
Yeah.
in other parts of the country and even right down to S2. Like, just a big shout to those guys. And I will probably add their names if I create a reel out of this. I'll add their names later. But the two dudes that are usually at the Shawnee store, the one that's over there off of Shawnee Mission Parkway, like,
Hmm.
I go in there for my Jocko Fuel drinks because of the ingredients, that they don't put preservatives in there, and like, they know me by name. Told them about the
Yeah.
podcast one day. They both started following it. um Everybody has been so supportive. The fact that uh just zooming out in the context of gyms in Kansas City, S2 stores, you get the same experience everywhere you go. And it's what's amazing too about like Caleb, Sid, John, Chase, Corey from Sweat Vault, all these folks.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not in a franchise, but a lot of your ethics, your standards, your conduct, the way you guys operate, you would think that you all went to the same school, that you all went through the same crash course in business. And it makes sense because everybody collaborates and everybody's willing to help. It's just, people are missing out, man. And I know one thing I'll just say before we get into, your journey and how things have been at Lyft and everything else that you got going on, man, is that I know, like Beastified, for an example, I was a member of that gym for about a year and a half. Only reason why I bowed out was because I got a gym 3 minutes from my house and I started going and doing jujitsu at TMC. So the time had to go
Oh yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
But people are intimidated of that type of environment. They see the black walls, they see all these bodybuilders in there, all that stuff. But the heaviest weight is the door, as Sid used to tell me. Once you get into these places, all people are going to find is support, um, and just a true community, which is what it takes when you're trying to get back in shape or keep the shape or get out of a plateau that you're on. You actually need a tribe of people around you. This idea
Certainly.
that we're all islands is complete bullshit and doesn't serve anybody well. Like the lone wolf mentality just doesn't work. And I feel like, too, that's part of like God's design for us as human beings, man. Like we're supposed to have iron sharpening iron. And when we don't have that, I know, like for me, like if I don't do jujitsu, I'm a wreck, dude. Like if I don't work out, I'm a wreck. Like, so,
Well,
um,
that's our
yeah.
message, dude. We could probably end it there. That's beautiful. That's it. No, we that's what we live by, man. Is that right there? Is this isn't a solo journey, and to kind of transition into a little bit of our story with that and how
Do it.
started Lyft was we have some friends who got into bodybuilding, and this was probably back in 2019, 2018. They competed. We saw their progress and their journey, and just honestly saw the way they looked. And I'm like, man, these people look great. And that's what started the conversation. We kind of got back into the gym, and just took it slow. Didn't really know what direction we were going in. Just trying to get in better shape. We have 2 kids, um, and just wanted to set the example for them. So with us getting back in shape, and then talking and hanging out with those friends again, we got in contact with their coach, started working with him, and that's where that process started. And every Saturday he would do a team lift. And like you said, that yeah, that solo journey just doesn't work, because we've all yo-yo dieted. We start this, we jump in both feet, we're super excited, and then you fall off because it's not sustainable. And sometimes you don't have that person kind of cheering you on. And when you work out with somebody else, or you have a partner, or you have a team to work out with, you're showing up for them a lot of the times. You're not showing up for yourself. Because a lot of those times those days get hard. You're on this forever journey that seems 1,000 miles long, and sometimes the scale doesn't move. Sometimes we don't like the way we look. And we start to play tricks on ourselves, right? That self-talk starts to turn a little negative. So to have the people around you to really lift you up, that's what we were around. And we're like, man, there's something to this. We started going to these open gyms. We started going to the S2 events. That's where we met Sid when Beastified did their grand opening. And,
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation with Sid, like, man, I want to do this one day. Like, this is beautiful. And from, right after that, we started having conversations about Lyft. Lyft started as a coaching company. My
Really.
wife was working with our partner. His name's Nick Langer. He's up in Omaha, and he owns Iron Heaven Gyms and BR Physiques. So she started working with him as coaching underneath. And that conversation started is just, hey, we wanna do this. What does it take to build this? And we kind of fast tracked it. The stars aligned, and it worked out. And so we had that conversation in I would say August of 24. And
It's not even like a full 2 years ago, right? Yeah.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, man. Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why you're on the show. I want people to know this
Yeah,
acceleration, how
August of
it's like,
24, we had a conversation about it.
I
Like,
know,
this
bro.
would be
It's
cool.
crazy.
And October, we got our space. Our son was out riding his bike around with some friends, and it was an old axe throwing place in Liberty. So we're on 291 next to Big Biscuit and Price Chopper, and on the south side of 291. And so our son was riding his bike through there, and he immediately texted us and was like, "Hey, Woodchucks is closed." And we had looked at a couple other spaces, but there was just it didn't quite fit, right? It was this massive warehouse that was 40 grand a month or something crazy, like way too much
Yeah.
space. Or it was this tiny little hole in the wall that, and you could start a great training facility, like a personal training facility out of like those 2,000 to 3,000 square foot facilities and kind of build. But I just knew that if we invested the money and we just swung for it, that it would work. And so our space is about 8,000 square feet. And so we got this space in October and started building. We had no loan, we had no equipment, we just had an idea and a vision, and 100% faith that God was going to, see this through. And so we continued to just show up every day and work. And man, those days were long because I still have my day job. So I'm a union pipe fitter. So I do HVAC service. So I'm out running around all day. I get off work, go to the gym, and we should have just opened an axe throwing facility because it was turnkey, ready to go. We had to demo everything out. We filled 4 40-yard dumpsters full of just trash, and it was just my wife and I. I mean, we had some friends come up and help us, but those long nights was just Paige and I, and just
I
sweat,
remember,
blood, and tears, dude.
bro. I remember when she was posting in the stories the progress of the gym, and you were doing the same. You guys were posting, reposting. Um, that was really cool to see how quickly it happened. And I do remember it happening fast, like just observing. Like at that point, like I hadn't had conversations with either of you. I just knew these are
Right.
cool people, like they're part of the community. But like getting the lights in, and then your opening day, you guys had that thoroughly video documented. I think was it Termini
Yep.
Media who helped
Yep.
you with
He was
that?
out.
Yeah,
Yep.
Cindy was out there, like it just like from day one, you can tell everybody turned out for that,
It
but
was beautiful, man.
just happened quickly. It's
And,
amazing.
and it was a huge surprise, really. I mean, we're truly blessed. We have so many great people around us and so much support. But when you're in it, you don't always see that, man. And I tell everybody, our noses were down. We were working, and we didn't really have that opportunity to stand up and look at the work that we had done. We just had a checklist, and we'd come in like, this is next on the list, and we just went down that list and started checking things off. And it was just, like I said, we we just got to work, and that's all it was. And sometimes that's all you can do. We had a vision, and there was so much. It was such a mountain we had to climb in such a short amount of time. The leasing agency that we went through for our property gave us 4 months to build out. So we were under crunch time, and to take a space that was turnkey, completely different business, and turn it into a gym. It was a big task. So having people come through, even if it was just for an hour to help us clean up or bring us food or just say what's up. And the S2 store in Liberty, man, we couldn't have done it without them because it was like that last like week or two is when the equipment showed up. And I don't know if you guys remember or not, but we had a terrible snowstorm at the beginning of 25. It was like that
Okay.
January, February,
I
or
remember
I guess,
that. My kids
yeah,
were
yeah, because
in
it shut down the
school
highway.
2 days in January that year. Everything
Exactly.
else was a snow day or illness. But yeah, bro, I remember it like it was
So
yesterday or like it was last year.
yeah, so we didn't
Yeah,
we
man.
didn't get our leg equipment until the day before. Like there was a semi that pulled up literally the day before we opened, unloading stuff. So it was a mad dash to the
And
finish. It was a photo finish.
leg equipment is squat racks, glute press, like all the heavy stuff
Yes,
that needs
sir.
to be
Yeah.
based and bolted in, as if all the other gym equipment wasn't a complete pain in the ass to get secured. But yeah, when you say leg equipment, I'm like, oh yeah, that's all the stuff that takes up a lot of space,
Yep.
and
Yep.
getting it assembled. Man, dude, it's incredible. So before we kind of go into some other things, I just want to ask you, just quickly, like, what does this year look like for Lyft? So you've been in business now. You hit a year last August. Is that or
No. So we
no?
actually hit a year of being open in January.
That's right. This year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was
Yeah.
getting the dissonance in my brain.
No,
So
you're good,
man,
bud.
after a year, right? Like you're obviously established. I know that your membership was growing. I heard that on Protein Bros when you guys were talking about that sort of kinetic energy, like a snowball, just gaining mass and momentum downhill, right? What does this year look like? You and Paige talked about that? Like, what are your goals for this year, dude? To sum it all up.
So yeah, so with Lyft, we just want to continue to obviously build, right? Like any other business, you want to keep bringing those members in. But one thing we've done, man, is we haven't done any real direct marketing. It's all been a word of mouth, really. And I want to keep that. There's been months where you're like, it's a little tight, but we just stay the course because our members are great and they bring in their friends who are probably pretty cool too because they were referred by this other person, and we've seen that. So we want to continue to just create a good environment, that great community, and that's the challenge, right? As we scale, you see this in other businesses. That's where you lose that connectivity, right? And so we're always in there. We live in that space, and so that's one thing we're going to continue to do. But we want to refine this space a little bit. We don't have a lot of stuff up on the walls. We have a big S2 banner. We'll always rep those guys, but there's not a lot going on. So, just like little things like that. It's the first year was get our feet under us, right? Keep your head above water, get to work, and just curate that community. We did a lot of events last year. So this year we want to keep on that same trend. And we're looking forward to doing a big event with Liberty Public Schools. We want to do like a group workout to kind of give back to the school district. So that's one of the big ones we're going to do. Both Paige and I grew up in Liberty in the district. I was kind of a knucklehead kid, and it was the staff and the teachers and some of the administration that really kept me on track and showed me that, hey, this path that you're going down isn't the only path. So just an opportunity. And my mom works for the district. I know how hard each and every one of them work, whether it's the support staff or the teachers. And it's a grind, and they're shaping the kids of the future. So to be able to kind of give them a break and help them out, that's something big we really want to try to do this year.
Dude, that is incredible. And man, I haven't been out to Liberty much, but my buddy Justin Rickliff, shout, he was on the show before. He runs Guild Collective. His office is in that old town or downtown area. It's just beautiful out there, man. And there's so much growth happening. Like the kids though in particular, like I know we won't get into all the statistics, not that's not for this conversation, but
Right.
childhood obesity, diabetes, like all that stuff, man. I feel like my perception, at least, and maybe this is just my perception, which is my reality, I feel like we're all, at least as a country, I think we're kind of we're pivoting there to say, hey, you know what, it's not acceptable if you're 10 years old and you can't do a push-up, right? Or whatever the metrics are. I'm sure you guys have probably dived into this of like where the district is at now, where you want kids to be, and you're probably setting up current condition, target condition, all that. But man, that's something Stephanie, my wife, and I, we take so seriously with our girls. And it's like
Thank you.
we definitely don't want to develop any eating disorders with like like watching the carbs and watching all that stuff. But like, we try to get them involved with healthy eating. When they're going nuts in the winter right now, it's like, Stephanie just got a walking pad for when we're snowed in, but just trying to keep the kids active, man. What are some things that you and Paige plan to do with the kids? Like if you can kind of like pull the curtain back a bit, what would that look like for a school district? Maybe this is something that other school districts in the area would want to be interested in.
So, just reaching out to the coaches. There's a lot of, I keep in contact with a lot of the teachers that I had, and whether it's a coach from back in the day or, like I said, just a teacher, and a lot of the sports get kind of overlooked. You got football, right? Baseball, maybe wrestling. Those are your top. Basketball sometimes, depending on the district. Not every sport is going to sit at the top. You have so many other sports out there like golf, you have tennis. These things that kind of they don't get as much maybe funding or, like I said, as attention with strength and conditioning. So being able to have a space, we have a long strip of turf in there. We have their sleds, we have the kettlebells, we have all that stuff, and to be able to come in and maybe work with some of those students and be able to help them just become better at their craft. And the school district does a great job, but right, there's resources and they're limited a lot of times. And so being able to work with some of those coaches and those students that maybe aren't in your main focus, like I said, like your football or your track, basketball, those are big and a lot like here in the Midwest. Wrestling's huge. But when you get to some of these other like more, and I don't want to be disrespectful, like some of the more fringe, tennis isn't real big here. So you go to those kids and you say, "Hey, let's work on that. Let's give you an opportunity. Let's get you some tension to maybe be able to get those scholarships and move ahead."
Right. I love it. Well, I love it too, man, because anytime that you can get kids involved with people that are either just a little bit older or a little bit further ahead, or like with what happened to you back in the day when I can't remember who was it you met, and just the way he looked, you're like, man, how do I look like that? How do I get in
Right.
shape
Yeah.
like that? Having a role model who is keeping them active using, God's pharmacy, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, all those things that we need. Um, that's huge, man. And I love that how you're thinking outside. And it sounds like those smaller locations that y'all looked at before, they just weren't big enough for your vision, dude.
Yeah.
And I love that. So Well, I got to ask you, dude, because I know you just got back into martial arts. So, forgive me. Where is the place you're training now? It's a new spot in Liberty, correct?
Yeah, so it's called Kingdom MMA and
Kingdom MMA.
BJJ.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah, tell me about that. What that journey has been like, man. And if you got to go
it's
back in
it's been
time,
hard.
it's so
I'm a little
hard,
bit older
dude.
than the last time I did this.
Oh
It's right off
man.
152 by
Okay.
Aldi's. So if you guys are familiar with the North Landing up here in Liberty, it's right off 152. So it's a great school. They just opened January 10th. So I went out just for some networking, right? Another gym in the
Yeah.
area, and that's what I got into. I love talking to people. Go in there, say what's up. I've always been I got into Taekwondo when I was 4. Uh, I I wanted to be a Power Ranger, right? Every little kid punching and kicking and
Yes.
running
Hey,
around, dude.
who was your favorite Ranger? I got to ask you, who's your favorite Power Ranger?
It was the White Ranger.
The White Ranger, which was the Green Ranger, which was Tommy, who rest in peace. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us,
R.I.P.
but
dude.
he was, I think he was a Taekwondo guy too. But yeah, he was my favorite because he seemed the most badass. So anyway, yeah. Sorry,
You know
go
what's
ahead,
crazy though
man.
too is like to that real quick, like there was these little low budget movies where martial arts you could like get away with, like this was a path of like doing, because Taekwondo it was great, but you're really just kicking stuff, and in a real world application, it's a great base for discipline, athletic, endeavor, whatever.
Absolutely.
But like as far as like when it comes to like if there was an altercation like jujitsu, boxing, things like that, like some Muay Thai, that's a little bit better. But nowadays, like, there's so many opportunities of being like an action star or a YouTuber with Taekwondo. Like, I'll go down these weird rabbit holes, and people are just flipping and kicking and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was like, where was this when I was a kid? Because I was
Yeah.
doing those things.
Where was Ombak, basically? I remember
Yeah, yeah,
Ombak was
yeah.
the first guy that I saw where it was like, holy shit, this guy, let alone Bruce Lee. Can't disrespect Bruce
Oh,
Lee,
yeah,
but
yeah. So
so you
yeah, just
started in Taekwondo, yeah.
growing up on action movies and watching that and fell in love with it. And so I started competing in tournaments, just local stuff around in the Midwest, and then I got on the national team, and I've been to Vegas, Florida, Minnesota, Texas, Georgia, all over the place, and competed at a pretty high level in Taekwondo, and continued that for a while. Got into Hapkido so I ended up changing schools. I was probably I don't know 10 or 11, 12, somewhere in there. Changed schools, and got into Hapkido, tried that for a little bit. That was pretty cool. And again, just being a kid of action movies, you know, flip and throw people, and it looked more like what you saw in the action stuff. And there was a little bit more self defense to that. But honestly, it's just the things that I learned outside of the physical side of martial arts is like the discipline. You're working with people. So many. It's like any martial arts. There's not like, oh, you're in this class. That group where it's like just 10-year-olds. No, it's going to be maybe 5-year-olds up to 13-year-olds, and there may be a branch from when you're like 14, 15 and up. So you're around so many different age groups. And I remember competing and training, and you may be a teenager going against somebody who's 25, 30. Like it doesn't matter. And so you find a point where like I would walk in and find the biggest, toughest, or maybe the most skilled person, because that's who you're going to learn from. And that's been my approach. It started young because I wasn't I'm 5'8" on a good day. I'm not a very big guy. Yeah. And so being in martial arts, when
Mesomorph
you walk
body type,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And you walk in and you see somebody who's much larger. Well, if this stuff works, I should be able to defend myself or be able to handle myself in situations. So I would train with bigger people, and
Mm,
that kind of went on to business and everything else. Is you find the
I
giant and you
love
try
it.
to slay them. And that's the thing. And guess what? If you fall short, you're going to be so much better off just because you went to that challenge. You had that large adversary. So started with Taekwondo, did that, and then I kind of got out of it. I was about 15, 16, and you're starting to drive. You're in high school. You're hanging out, and so I just kind of stepped away for a little bit. Well, there was a couple that I did Taekwondo with that started doing MMA. And this is probably in 2005, six, somewhere right around there, the early days. So they were bugging me about coming out and trying it, and then it was probably 2007. I ended up going out to Independence, was the Caveman Crew. Rudy Bear still runs it today, but this was back in the day when Snyder owned it. So I was training there for a little bit, and then we had our daughter. Paige got pregnant our senior year in high school. So I kept trying to
School sweethearts.
Yeah, we actually met
I
in
love
eighth
it.
grade math class.
I love it,
We were
dude. I love it.
we were best friends through high school and junior high and middle school and all that,
Yeah.
and we started dating our junior year. And
Okay.
then our senior
Awesome.
year, she got pregnant with Aubrey, and yeah, the rest has been history, man. We had our son right after we graduated, and so two kids by 19, man. The really, and things were a struggle. I've worked a lot of like warehouse jobs that didn't really have a path, but I just knew like, man, there's so much more to this, right? And so I just sometimes you just gotta exist, right? You just gotta kinda do what you gotta do. This is the job. And then just I was never satisfied and I kinda felt like a loser. And I just didn't like where I was heading. I didn't like the path that I was on. And so that's when I got into heating and cooling. I saw the industry. My wife was working as a dispatcher, and so I was like, you know what? Let me give this a shot. So I started working with a local company, and that was a struggle. But I kept showing up every day. I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to quit this job. There's a real skill set here. There's an opportunity, and so they sent me to training and all this stuff. But I love it when you have some where you're just banging your head against the wall, and it's this puzzle that you have to solve. There's no other option, and so just sticking with it, learning this skill set, and then I saw an opportunity. That's when I joined the union, and there's been this path of like, okay, there's this obstacle in front of me. Well, instead of giving up, running around, whatever, just let's face it head on, and being able to kind of rise to the occasion. And I started to see that in myself, like, okay, you're not a loser. You just maybe were misdirected, misguided, or didn't have the support around you, or whatever the case is. And so I just kept showing up. Well, then that's just then as I turned out, became a journeyman. That's when we were preparing for a bodybuilding show. And it was just like I had always been this person to kind of quit on myself early on. And I made that promise I wasn't going to do that anymore. And so I was like, okay, well, you stuck with this program. You learned this skill set. You got into the union. Now you've done 5 years of school. Now you've graduated this program. Now you're into a bodybuilding show. And so it's like these things, okay, you're not a loser. Let's keep working. You're doing well. And I just kept trying to reassure myself that like you're on the right path. And like I said earlier, that like a lot of times we're our worst enemy. We're the ones that are gonna be our biggest critic. And so being able to see that the work that I put in is paying off and I am making, these strides in the right direction, that's when we had the conversation about the gym with Nick, and then here we are today, right? And so I just try to share that message. Our biggest demographic in the gym is 18 to 24-year-olds. And we're starting to get a little closer to 30, which is exciting because I have people my age around me. But there's an
Yeah, dude.
opportunity to really just kind of mentor these younger people. And like, dude, it's hard out there. We've all been through it. And when you don't have the right guidance, the right people around you, it's like, hey, whatever path you want to take, we're here to support you. And that's where that community comes in. And being able to just have like when people come into the gym, the first thing we do is as we walk them around, we introduce them to a couple people. So that way, when you're in there, if we're not there, you have a friendly face, you have somebody to talk to. You like, oh, hey, I know you, and that just kind of starts to ease that transition in. And so, like I said, just being able to have the support system around you, regardless if it's bodybuilding, working out, a job, like that's the secret right there, right? Is that we need the community, we need the tribe because it's not a solo mission. And being able to live what we preach is the biggest part of that. And so that's what's fun for us is we have this group of people who we've curated and the
Absolutely.
like, everybody's at different levels too, right? There's people that I look to that are really helping pull us up, and there's those people that we have the opportunity to kind of mentor to and pull up and see their full potential.
Yeah, man. So, real quick, just quick apology. I had my wife come in here to turn off the space heater, and then I realized my speakers were on and I shut those off. So, I was listening to you, but there was about 10 seconds there where I was really trying to focus on shutting all this stuff down. Um, I wanted to ask you, so it sounds like, okay, so I understand your journey of you were competing. And I'm guessing that when you started your family, that's when did martial arts take a back seat, correct?
Yeah, and it
Okay.
just had to. Yeah, that's when everything
Yeah.
kind of stepped back.
And
So that was,
so,
I mean,
yeah, what?
well, and so I tried getting back into it again, and that's the thing is life always happened. Like so, I was probably late teens, early 20s, and was trying to do that. It just wasn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
So then fast forward, I was probably 26, 27. I tried it again. Got into just strictly jujitsu and did that for a little bit again. it just wasn't working out. And so when I had the
Like
opportunity
with
to
the
go to,
schedule, like having
yeah,
kids,
man,
having
just,
your job, like I know
yeah.
you're working pipe fitting job, dude. Like that's a lot of long hours, heavy weeks too.
And that was when I was still
So
an apprentice, so I was still going to class,
yeah,
and I
dude.
didn't have quite the freedom of, I was at the mercy of somebody else telling me what to do. Now that I'm a journeyman, I have my
Absolutely.
own accounts. I kind of make my own schedule loosely. So
Yeah.
so I have a little bit more of that freedom. But so when this opportunity came back, when I went to Kingdom and talked with those guys, I was like, man,
Just for
there's just
networking. Just gonna show up and support
yeah,
a local
right.
business.
That's what it starts as. And I've always had like that itch. I'm like, man, I just didn't feel like I gave it a full opportunity. I didn't get that chance to try it out. So I told myself, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna give myself a year. And it hasn't been easy. So I got my full time job. I go to the to lift to work and to try to find my time to work out because I'm still trying to compete in bodybuilding, and also go to Kingdom, be a father, be a husband, and be a good friend and son, and all the things that kind of ripple out from you. So it's just trying
Yeah.
to do all those things, and I realized that there's never gonna be a right time. I just gotta make it work. And so it's just this is where we're at, and there's been a couple weeks where I haven't made it to Kingdom. When we had
Yeah.
that cold snap a few weeks ago, I was busy with my
Yep.
regular job, trying to make up
Yep.
things in the gym. It just didn't work. And so just giving myself the grace to be like, hey, you'll get there when you get there. You're giving yourself a year. And I met a guy, his name's Connor. He trains a marathon, and he's the one that really kind of sold me on signing up at Kingdom. And he just said, not every day is going to be perfect. Just keep showing up, and a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, you're going to continue to improve. And it's 100% true. And I can already tell in the month that I've been going, because what's it? Yeah, we're about a little over a month in, maybe 6 weeks. The footwork's coming back. Like I'm starting to
Nice.
to get the mobility back. Cardio's still trash, but that's like
Oh,
the
dude.
last thing that
Well,
comes.
yeah, that to be honest too, to just pause for a moment and talk about that. Being an older dude in jujitsu, especially you're coming back, and that's the humbling piece. Is like for me, I took a 15-year, 20-year break, and then I went back as a 40-year-old, and I got so many freaking injuries. I was basically injured every 3 weeks, dude. And I was showing up in my gi, but with bursitis and tendon issues and shoulder issues and all that. And I realized I really broke it down and I was like, I think a lot of it in that journey in 2021 when I got back was I still wanted to be as strong and capable as when I was a kid. And so I was, fighting bigger guys and sparring, all that, trying to do Uchimata on a guy who is, 150 pounds heavier than me. And he falls right on top of me. What do I expect is going to happen? But I was getting
Right.
injured so much. And since I went back to TMC in June, I haven't had any serious injuries. And a lot of that has to do with me too, going like, yo, I suck at this. Like my cardio is trash. Back to your statement about cardio being trash. I've found that no matter what I do on the assault bike, if I set the incline like Beastified, one of the reasons why I love and I miss Beastified was those freaking treadmills, bro. They go up to 30% incline. And when I was training for a 14er in Colorado, I'm pretty sure that was the difference maker there, is doing
Yes.
that, getting that in. But I've found that there's a psychological component too, man. I'm on my back, I'm on the bottom. Homie is sitting on my diaphragm, right? And now my training partners at TMC, it's like the dudes, I'd shout them out, but I'd have to name every purple, blue, and brown belt in that academy to thank them, because they know now when I'm in that position, I'm putting myself in that position on purpose because I suck there. And hopefully I'll grow gills and I'll be able to breathe. But I've been learning little things like the shimmying and A
Yep.
frame and how to get somebody out of mountain, how to just sit there and calm your mind. Cause I think psychologically that plays into the cardio with jujitsu too, bro. And so anyway, enough about my psychology and stuff. Like, what are some of the levels you're unpacking on the mats and off the mats since you got back in, man?
Well, and to that point, like the psychology behind it, honestly, when I started training in bodybuilding, really taking it serious and training with people that are pretty high level, the workout intensity is just insane. A lot of people think they work
Yeah.
out hard. You don't. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Nope.
Like you can push yourself so much further, and so being able to take that, like being on the hack squat, loaded up with plates, and you're pushing yourself, and you're screaming at the top of your lungs, and you are just going through it. everything kind of slows down a little bit. You don't have time. If you're thinking about other things, you ain't working out hard enough. And so being able to
Mm,
take that mindset and being in those positions of like, I've pushed myself hard to take that to the mat. And when I'm in those positions, I can find myself calming down a lot more. I think as we're
yeah.
younger, we like to rush things. Or if we're new to something, we like to rush things and just simmer in it, you know. And when I'm training people and they're trying to rush through those last few reps, like, no, 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 we're slow cooking. Like we don't need to rush this. Let's like simmer in that a little bit and feel that pain, feel that muscle connection. And so when I get on the mat, it's the same thing. If somebody's in mount, I'm on the bottom. Hey, it's whatever. We're here. So I'm just gonna take my time. I'm gonna slow my breathing, slow my mind,
Yeah.
and think, right? It's high level chess. And so being able to get out of
Yeah.
that position without rushing it, that's your best bet. And I think a lot of like the stress of like opening the business and juggling everything, it's kind of helped me calm down. When you go through things, right,
Right.
you get a little bit more maturity. You kind of like, oh well, worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And so when you really go through it, sometimes that threshold gets elevated a bit. And so I feel like that's happened. So being able to go back to training when I was in my younger days, you're doing everything fast, you're doing everything, you're muscling everything up. Well, now it's like I know that like I do have a lot more muscle mass than I did. I'm one of the stronger guys in the class. And so being able to use technique over strength is huge.
Yeah.
And just like I said, slowing things
Absolutely.
down and using my brain instead of my brawn.
Right. Yeah, I in our previous conversations, man, some of the bangers that you've dropped on me were I love how you take this approach of going into things with zero expectations. And I know what that's like as well. I mean, and sometimes for me it's like if I could just go in with just one expectation instead of 70, that's a win. Um, resistance is resistance. That's another thing you've told me, right? And I feel like um, taking that approach will serve anyone well, no matter what they're doing. To say,
Oh,
hey,
for sure.
resistance is resistance. I'm getting resistance because I am trying to become something that I wasn't yesterday. I'm just trying to beat myself yesterday. Or Ethan Suplee, one of my favorite actors who's beat morbid obesity, kill your clone
Yeah.
like every day, right? um I love that, man. And I can see as I'm getting to know you more too in this episode just how you treat that resistance when it comes in life, when you face it, when you encounter it as a father, as a business owner, as a journeyman, now as a student again, at Kingdom. It's Kingdom MMA, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Kingdom. Yeah, because I mix it up with King's MMA in California because my buddy
Oh,
trains
yeah.
there. And so, anyway, man, no, I love that. And so, obviously, that jujitsu journey is slow, and we so most of the time, anyway, for me too. Even after being there for 7 months now, most days I walk out with this mixture of like man, I wish my cardio was better by now, but also this factor of like I just did the hardest thing that I'm ever going to do today. Like I actually sat there and fought with full grown men and got my ass kicked. And that's going to make everything else in my day, when the meeting gets canceled, when the meeting that has been pushed 7 times over the course of 4 months and our deliverables are completely delayed, it's going to be like, okay, like I actually couldn't breathe. I had somebody sitting on my chest this morning. This is nothing. That principle of like eating the frog, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
when you eat the frog, everything else after tastes like dessert. Um, so I think I'm mixing up analogies there, man, but I'm liable to do
I know what
that.
you're saying.
um,
But honestly, man,
yeah,
that's great, and it's just being able to go into these situations with no expectation. I think we work ourselves up more than we absolutely need to. We go in thinking, well, what about this? What about that? And like the thing is that shows that you care. That anxiety comes from your passion and you wanting to do well, but you
yeah,
can't let that overrun the situation. And you just got to know, I've prepared. And that's the thing, right? If you prepare and you train and you set yourself up, there's really nothing to be too nervous about because, you know, you can't change it now. We're in it. Right. And so if the
yeah,
preparation's there and we learn from those things, right? So we go into the situation. If it doesn't go as well, let's reevaluate and go back to the drawing board and just fill those holes and come back better. And that's where I think, like I
yeah.
said, I tell it to my clients all the time, give yourself grace. Like, this isn't gonna
Yeah.
change overnight. Funny story, I had a guy last night who, we went up to we have a peptide seminar today at the gym, and so we were kind of
Congratulations on that, by the
thanks,
way.
dude. Yeah.
And dude, I hope it's a raging success and that you do more and I'll get out to one in the future. So sorry,
Yeah,
you're
I
working with the
appreciate it,
guy
man. That's
last
something we're
night?
looking at.
Yeah.
Looking at something to do more of those things this year is, some seminars and stuff and just
Yeah.
education. Like I said, there doesn't need to be a paywall every time you wanna learn something. We can come in, we can sit
Yeah.
down, we can talk collectively, and we can learn. But we were taking some stuff up to the gym last night and getting ready for this morning, and, I ran into one of my clients. He just started with me. He's been with me a week, and he's down 7 pounds this week, and
Oh,
he went out and
that's
bought another
beautiful.
scale. And he's like, "I think my scale's broke." And I'm like, "No way, dude. Just like," and he's like, "Well, there's just no way." And so it's just it's beautiful, right? It's great and it's exciting.
Ah,
It's kind of funny on my end. This dude's out there, he just doesn't believe it. But I'm like, give
I
yourself some
love that,
love, dude.
dude.
And
I
we're just
know,
so
man.
critical on ourselves that we can't accept the fact that, like, hey, you showed up every single day this week. You did your cardio, you ate your meal plan, you were on point, your sleep's good, and you lost the weight. Yeah, you did everything right. Like, of course you're gonna see success. And
Mm,
so it's just like I try to remind people like that, man, just chill on yourself. Cause like we are so hard on ourselves. We're our biggest critics and we push ourselves way too much and we
yeah.
set the bar too high. Now you can have high expectations. That's beautiful, right? I'm a dreamer. Like I said, with the gym and everything, I swing for the fences. And at the end of the day, it's like, what happens if it doesn't work? At least it'll be a good story, right? Either
Yeah,
way. And I
dude.
just try to tell myself is like, this is gonna be a cool story one day,
Yeah.
and as we were building up the gym though, like one of my biggest struggles I found was, you know, being able to put this thing together and really change the path for my family. Show my kids what it's like to
So
build
glad you
something.
mentioned that because I wanted to go to family. So yes, the change the path for your family, please. Keep going, my
And
man.
we had both the kids, like I said, at 19. So a lot of times, you just kind of wake up one day and you got stuff in the house as a kid. You don't know how your parents built the house you live in, the cars, the lifestyle you have. You don't usually get to see that. It's like my kids have been there every step of the way. They've seen the ups, the downs. They've been broke with us. We've had money. We've lost it. They've been there every step of the way, and it's been so big for them. And with us, like we're an open book with our kids. We have conversations. We've done it ever since they were little. Obviously, we just kind of changed the dialogue to their maturity level. But like as
Yeah.
they grow, we have these conversations and we're very, very open. And one of the things is like we're building this thing, this gym, this community to us is a legacy for our kids, but it was pulling us away so much that like my biggest fear was honestly it was going to destroy the thing that I was trying to build it for. I just felt myself slipping from my like I wasn't around as much. We were working until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I go home, sleep for a couple hours, go to the gym. Then even after it opened, we're like, oh, we're done. No, you just have a whole new set of responsibilities that we have to live in this space now. And the kids would come up and hang out, but they got school, they got sports, they got things they got to do. And the thing is like our business partners in Omaha. So it's Paige and I holding it down here. And when you have a shitty day with a coworker, you guys go your separate ways at the end of the day. I sleep next to mine. And sometimes that's really, really hard, and it's just been these new challenges and these new struggles that I didn't expect. Like I said, you go in with, hey, this is normal shit you're gonna run into with a business, right? This is like money's gonna be tight, whatever, long hours. But it was like more of the emotional toll. And Paige and I have been friends since middle school. Like we've gotten through all the silly arguments and the fights. Like we really don't argue anymore. And to see some of these things come back up, we're like, what the hell is going on? And like I
Yeah.
said, not being at home as much as I was used to, it just completely taken our lifestyle and just flipping it over, and
Yeah.
completely dumping the table. It's that's been the biggest challenge, I think,
Yeah, brother.
is yeah.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I was getting ready to ask you, as we were kind of closing up the book on the martial arts stuff was, how to keep your marriage strong because, Stephanie and I, my wife, we met in chemistry class in high school, chemistry of all places. And I was the
Yeah,
class
yeah.
clown in the corner and she was this smart, beautiful, young lady that was kind of laughing and she was the only one who thought my jokes were funny, right? And sometimes a teacher. And then she was, the worship team leader at our youth group, and so I could see she could sing and play. I was a guitarist, all that. The thing about being with your significant other since you were like babies, like teenagers, and in
Yeah.
your case even preteen because you've known each other since middle school, is you're growing old together and you're both becoming people that you've never been. You're doing it together, and there's a lot of tension in a marriage when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like I personally, I've spoke about this on other shows and podcasts, like my own addictions, my own apathy. I used to weigh 295 pounds like 4 years ago, bro. I've lost 135 pounds. I gained 40 more pounds during COVID, like most of us did. Like, we have both had our ups and downs, but we've always found a way to come together. And
Yeah.
um it is so hard, especially now that as she's building her business, she's working full time. I'm working full time. I'm building the podcast in my business. And then we got the kids. And we've made little tweaks along the way, right? Like, that's the reason why this podcast now, it is an hour conversation. I don't do any editing because guess what? I'm going to post it. That's also made things a lot better for me and my guests like you.
Yeah.
We can have more of an organic conversation. I don't have all this pressure to shove everything into an hour long episode. It's just, we're here. We're so blessed to do this right now, dude. Like, you and I get to sit in our houses and have this conversation that, folks are going to, watch this, listen to it. They're going to get to know you and your business more. Like, it's a beautiful thing. It's a gift. And sometimes, man, these things, they feel like a big burden, and we almost like, it's like we're building a prison for ourselves. Like, I don't know if you've ever felt like that, but like, lift, right? Like, when it's like that Field of Dreams thing, build it and they will come. But guess what? You're going to be coming there too. Right.
Yeah.
And Sid has been very vocal about that, of like, people think business ownership is like, you know, this thing where once you build it, it starts, you get to pick your time, you get to be your own boss. It's like, no, actually, you're first in, last to leave. And, the most important thing that you have as a man, and I can tell we probably have a lot of the same sort of core values, is like, I want to make sure my kids grow up knowing that their dad was there for them. And when I put that pressure on myself that I'm not seeing them enough, or I'm not caring for my wife is getting leftovers. My buddy Dominique just said that on a podcast. It's like, she sees all the shit stains in my underwear, man. Like, she sees everything. I mean, I don't have shit stains in my underwear anymore. I don't. I'm just laughing because of his analogy. But like, our wives truly know us, dude. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And like, we need to try. We need to give them our best. Like, everything else. And that's another thing too. The psychology is like this idea that like I can only give my best to some things, and everything else gets leftovers, or like whatever I have left. I do feel like we can kind of just show up as our whole self. And that way, whatever we're doing at the moment, we're there. I love how you said, when you're doing jujitsu or when you're lifting weights, if you're thinking about other things while you're doing those things, you're not getting what you need to. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, there,
Yeah.
dude.
No,
But,
you're exactly right.
being present wherever you are. When I'm here with my wife, she's got my full attention. I put the phone away. If her and I are looking, there's all sorts of strategies for that. But um, what have you and Paige found? Like, if you could give folks advice that are trying to build business right now as a couple, working on the business, working in the business, what are some things that have worked for you guys through the rough times?
So I think the biggest part is defining roles. That is
Hmm.
huge because a lot of times you'll find you're stepping on each other's toes, which already, whether it's business or just, let's say you're on a vacation, like, you're around the house. Anytime you're in each other's space and each other's way, you kind of get on each other's nerves, anyways, right? So
Yeah.
being able to define roles, and let's look at our strengths and look at our weaknesses and where each person kind of fits within the business. And when we try to look at it like a business. I think a lot of people, when they start a business, you know um they look at it as almost like a side hobby or maybe a side hustle. Maybe that's what it starts out as, right? And then it grows, and the next thing you know, you're in this thing. But going into this and saying, no, we are building a business. We run it like a business. We treat it like a business. We have office hours. That was another thing that really helped us. Those
Yeah.
office hours are like home office hours, right? Like, if it's, but after 7 p.m., we don't talk about gym or work or coaching or any of
God
that.
bless you,
And if it's
man.
before 7 a.m., it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, because we found ourselves so consumed within this thing, that this creature we created, it was
Yeah.
just, we would even step away to go, let's go on a date night. We'd sit there and we're like, I don't know what to talk about anymore. You just talk about the gym and
Yeah. I'm really trying to not talk about the gym right now. What about you?
yeah,
And she's like, yeah, I'm really trying to find something else to talk about too. And yeah, yeah.
dude, and
So
that's exactly it.
crazy,
And so
bro.
being it really is. It became all consuming.
Yeah.
So
It's
being able
wild.
to, like I said, define roles is the biggest part. And then back to what I was saying before, give each other some grace and give yourself some grace, but give each other grace because there was a lot of times where, and I can't put my expectations on anybody else. That's something I'm really trying to work on because I set the bar extremely high for myself. And unfortunately, I do that to others. And then
Yeah,
I get
bro.
disappointed and I get irritated. And right. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I'm really trying to do is you can't set that expectation for that other person. You have to trust in them to run the business or their role or whatever that is their way. You can't micromanage them. And so that was, like I said, I found myself being like, "Well, why didn't you do it like this? Or why did you do like that?" She's like, "It's done. It's handled. It was done great. Why does it matter?" And I'm like, I guess you're right. And so I had to take a big step back and not be so critical or micromanage too much. And so I mean, honestly, those two things were huge for us, just defining roles and then allowing that person to operate freely within those roles that they're in. And then, like I said, those office hours, you can't talk about the business all the time. It's fun, it's exciting, it's new, but it will consume you, and it starts to be your personality and really like the only topic. And so it's just and it's with us being together so young or getting together so young, we've grown out and in and out, and that seems like we've given each other the opportunity to figure out who we are as an individual. And I think that's really
Oh,
big. Like when we
I
first
love
got
that,
together,
dude.
it was, you know, you almost like have this ownership. It's that high school mentality, right? You start dating young and it's like, this is my girl, and you carry that into adulthood a little bit. And you have to be able to kind of let that person go and explore who they are and become an individual. And that's why I love that person, right? Is because of
Yeah.
who they are as an individual. And I don't think, and even if you're not high school sweethearts, some people unfortunately do that. They get this like possessive ownership over an individual and they don't let them grow. And so being able to let her and to see her grow, dude, there is nothing sexier than to see her motivated and driven and working so hard to build something that is going to be lasting for our future and our kids and all that. And the gym, I'm going to tell everybody right now, the gym, our coaching company, none of it would be possible without her. She has built everything. She holds it down during the day. She's answering the phone calls, emails, but she built our website, our
Whoa,
coaching
that's
app that we
awesome.
use. She built our coaching app. Hey,
She's
we
got all
have
the
zero
technical chops
education.
too. That's awesome.
Dude, but that's the thing is like we haven't gone to school. It's just hard work and we're really bad. We're DIYers. It started out of necessity because we were broke. And then it kind of turned into the situation of, I don't like the way this person's doing this. So I'm going to dig into this, whether it's an industry or the way we're doing something. We're going to dig into it. We're going to dissect it. We're going to break it down and we're going to build it and make it our own. And that's, another part of Lyft is, when we go on vacation, we go to random gyms around the country. Wherever we're at, we find a cool gym, pop in, and we saw what works and what doesn't work and what we like. And we talk to the members and all this. And so Lyft is like this hodgepodge of everything that we've seen and what we like and what we don't like, and we've kind of made it, our own. And so it's the same thing. We've used different coaching apps. We didn't like them, so Paige created her own. She coded it and built it and had a running prototype, and we used it for a little bit, and then she was able to, excuse me, get somebody to build that out. So
Dude, that's
everything we
amazing.
have has been built by us. Everything, and that's
Right.
that's the cool part. So, if you are building something, you want to go on this adventure with your partner, you just go in again, zero expectations, open mind, and allow them to grow and be the person that you fell in love with. And there's a reason why you
Yeah.
love them, those traits, and let them shine. And you know, I think our biggest thing is we get in our own way. And so
Yeah,
allowing
for
them to kind
sure.
of run freely and kind of settle into that role, that's where the best work's going to be done.
Absolutely, man. Um, Charles, this has been such an awesome conversation with you, man. I am like you're one of those dudes like, and I hope our listeners see this too, is just like talking to you makes me want to go run through brick walls like the juggernaut, dude. Like I know too, you're a human being, man. You've got your own things that you probably get through on a daily basis. Everybody has their ups and downs. We have to find our motivation. We've got to replace motivation with discipline because discipline is what's going to be there for us, right?
Yes,
Because most
sir.
of the time, to be honest, I'm not motivated, right? And I've learned that. Mr. The Sensei Jocko Willink has been very effective on getting me to understand that. But man, I'm going to definitely have to have you on and again in the future. Something I've been doing for 2026 so far is just giving our guests an opportunity to close out the show. Is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with, man? I know you're probably going to have a lot of folks rallying to listen to this too. Is there anything you want to say to your folks? And we can close it out, man.
Um, I would say, put God first and find your community and give yourself some grace.
Love that,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
And I just got to confess too. One of the reasons why I had you on this show is because I knew that I had some things that I needed to learn from you, and I have absolutely learned those things today, man. And I am inspired. And my prayer for you and Paige and your kids and Lyft. And is it Fusion? What Fusion Evolution?
uh, yeah. Fueled evolution.
Fueled Evolution. I'm sorry, that's the
Yes, sir.
coaching
No, you're
company,
good.
right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
The education you guys are doing for the school district, for all of that, that you guys would just continue to be a light in the community, man. And can't wait to have you on again in the future, man. We'll talk about progress and we'll definitely talk about jujitsu again. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get out to an open mat at Kingdom sometime, and maybe I could have you out at TMC too. But
Oh, I'd love it, man. That'd be great.
gonna have to hang out, man. So, all right, everybody, thank you again for tuning in. We really love how these new conversations are going. This new format, the folks we're having on, these are people that I really believe in, that I love having the community with, and just hope y'all enjoyed it as well. Y'all have a beautiful day. Thanks, Charles.
Thanks. Yep.
All right, man. Well,